You and I are about to uncover something so simple, yet so profound, that it has the potential to change how you experience every single moment of your life. Right now. Instantly. But before we dive in, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like life is slipping through your fingers? Like you're always chasing something: success, happiness, love, purpose, but no matter how much you get, there's always this lingering feeling that something is missing? You see, most of us live as if we are running toward a finish line that never arrives. We think, once I get that job, once I make that money, once I find the right person, once I fix myself, then I'll finally be happy. But that day never comes, because the mind always finds something else to chase. Alan Watts called this the great human illusion, the belief that fulfillment is somewhere else, always a step ahead of us. But what if I told you that the very thing you're searching for, the peace, the joy, the aliveness, is not in the future? It's not something you need to earn or achieve. It's already here, right now. But most of us are too distracted to notice it. We are lost in thought, caught in memories of the past and worries about the future, completely missing the only thing that has ever been real: the present moment. Right now, as you're watching this, your mind might be drifting. Maybe you're thinking about something you need to do later, or something that happened earlier today. But pause for a second. Take a deep breath. Feel the air entering your lungs. Listen to the sounds around you. Notice the sensation of simply being here. This is it. This moment is life. And the secret Watts shared is that when you fully embrace the present, everything changes.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
But here's the challenge: why is it so hard for us to stay present? Why do we constantly get pulled back into our thoughts, our worries, our distractions? It's because we've been conditioned to believe that life is a means to an end, that everything we do is just a stepping stone to something better. From the moment we're born, we are taught to think about the future. Study hard so you can get a good job. Work hard so you can retire. Save money so you can finally enjoy life later. But later never comes, because even when we reach our goals, the mind is already on to the next thing. And this is why so many people, even those who have achieved everything they ever wanted, still feel unsatisfied. They spent their entire lives trying to get somewhere, only to realize that there was nowhere to get to. Life was happening all along. Watts used the analogy of music. Imagine if the purpose of music was to reach the end as fast as possible. The best musicians would be the ones who played the fastest, and the greatest symphonies would just be one loud chord at the end. But that's not how we experience music. We dance to it, we flow with it, we savor each note. Life is meant to be experienced the same way, not as a race, but as a dance. But most people don't realize this because they are caught in what Watts called the great postponement. They live as if happiness is always just around the corner, always after the next achievement. But if happiness is always in the future, then when do you actually experience it? Now, let's take this even deeper, because this isn't just a nice idea. This realization has the power to completely shift how you experience life. Right now, think about all the stress, all the worries that weigh on you. Almost all of them are tied to the future: things you think you need to fix, problems you think you need to solve. But what if you could drop all of that, just for a moment? What if you could let go of all the mental noise and simply be? This is what Watts meant when he said that enlightenment is not about acquiring something new, it's about waking up to what has always been here. And this brings us to the biggest question of all. If the present moment is all there is, why are we so afraid to fully embrace it? Why do we resist it, distract ourselves from it, run from it? The answer is simple. The ego, the part of us that clings to identity, to control, to the illusion of separation, cannot exist in the present. It thrives in the past and the future, in regrets and worries, in comparisons and judgments. The moment you step fully into the now, the ego loses its grip, and that can feel terrifying. But it is also the most liberating thing you will ever experience. Because when you stop resisting life, when you stop trying to control everything, you realize that everything you've ever wanted, peace, happiness, love, is not something you need to find. It is something you need to allow. It is already here, waiting for you to see it. The only thing standing between you and the full experience of life is your own mind, your own resistance. So the question is, are you ready to let go? Are you ready to stop chasing and start being? Because the moment you do, the moment you fully surrender to the present, everything changes instantly. Why letting go is the ultimate freedom, and how to do it right now. We spend most of our lives trying to control things: our future, our relationships, how people see us, even our own thoughts. But the truth is, the more we try to control, the more we suffer. Because life is not something to be controlled. It is something to be experienced. And the paradox is, the moment we let go of the need to control, we actually gain something far greater: freedom. But letting go is terrifying, isn't it? Because deep down, we believe that if we don't hold on tightly, everything will fall apart. We think that if we don't constantly plan, worry, and strategize, we will lose ourselves. But what if the opposite is true? What if all the things you are trying to hold together are the very things keeping you from experiencing life fully? Alan Watts often spoke about this illusion of control, comparing it to a person floating in water. If you struggle, if you tense up and thrash around, you sink. But the moment you relax, the moment you allow yourself to trust the water, you float effortlessly. Life works the same way. The more you fight it, the more you suffer. The more you surrender, the more effortlessly things begin to flow. But what does it actually mean to let go? It doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop making plans or taking action. It means you stop clinging. You stop resisting reality. You stop living in a constant state of tension, trying to make life fit into your expectations. Because here's the truth: life is not meant to go according to your plans. It is meant to unfold. And the more you try to force things, the more friction you create. Think about all the times you've been stressed, anxious, overwhelmed. Almost always, it was because reality wasn't matching your expectations. But what if, instead of resisting, you embraced what is? What if, instead of trying to control every outcome, you trusted that life has its own rhythm, its own intelligence? The reason we fear letting go is because we believe that without control, we will lose something: our sense of self, our security, our direction. But what if what we are afraid of losing was never real to begin with? Watts often spoke about the illusion of the ego, the idea that we are separate, isolated beings navigating a hostile world. But that's not true. You are not separate from life. You are life. You are not a wave struggling to survive in the ocean. You are the ocean. And once you see this, once you truly feel it, fear begins to dissolve. Because fear is always about the future. It is always about resisting what might happen. But in the present moment, when you are fully here, fear does not exist. And this is the freedom that letting go brings. But let's get practical. How do you actually let go? Because it's easy to understand this intellectually, but how do you apply it in real life? The first step is awareness. You have to actually see how much you are resisting life. Notice the little ways in which you try to control things, how you tense up when things don't go your way, how you constantly analyze the past, how you worry about the future. Just observe it. Don't judge it. Just see it. The second step is acceptance. This is where most people get stuck because they confuse acceptance with passivity. But acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means fully embracing reality as it is, without resistance. It means understanding that what is happening right now is already happening, and your resistance to it doesn't change that, it only makes you suffer. The third step is trust. Trust that life is not against you. Trust that you don't need to control everything for things to work out. Trust that when you let go, when you stop clinging, life has a way of unfolding in ways more beautiful than you ever could have planned. And the final step? Presence. Because letting go is not something you do once and then forget about. It is a practice. It is something you must return to again and again in every moment. Right now, as you're listening, ask yourself, what are you holding on to that is causing you suffering? What would happen if, just for a moment, you let it go? What if you stop trying to fix everything? Stop trying to control everything? Stop trying to be something other than what you are? What if you simply allowed yourself to be here now? Because the moment you do, you will realize something incredible. You don't need to chase happiness. You don't need to seek peace. They are already here. They have always been here. The only thing standing between you and them is your own resistance. The illusion of separation, why you are not who you think you are. We live under a grand illusion, one so deeply ingrained in us that we rarely ever question it. It is the illusion of separation, the idea that we are isolated individuals, cut off from the world around us, navigating life alone. But what if that's not true? What if the very way we perceive ourselves is based on a misunderstanding? Alan Watts spent much of his life trying to wake people up from this illusion, because he understood that the root of human suffering is not just our attachment to control, but our mistaken belief that we are fundamentally separate from life itself. You see, from the moment we are born, we are given an identity. We are given a name, a nationality, a personality, a set of beliefs. We are told, this is you. This is who you are. And we accept it without question. But let's pause for a second. Who were you before you were given a name? Who were you before you were taught who you are? If you strip away everything you've been told about yourself, what remains? The truth is, the identity you cling to is just a collection of memories, thoughts, and experiences. It is not who you truly are. It is a story your mind tells itself over and over again, reinforcing the illusion that you are a separate being, isolated from the rest of existence. But you are not separate. You never were. The air you breathe, the food you eat, the ground beneath your feet, everything you think of as outside of you is actually a part of you. There is no clear dividing line between you and the universe. The boundaries we believe in are just constructs, illusions created by the mind. Watts often compared this to the way we think of waves and the ocean. A wave appears to be an individual thing, rising and falling, separate from the rest. But in truth, a wave is not separate from the ocean, it is the ocean, expressing itself in a temporary form. And you, too, are not separate from life. You are life, expressing itself as a temporary form. But why does this matter? Because the illusion of separation is the root of fear. It is the reason we feel lost, disconnected, anxious. We believe we are alone, and because of that, we fear death, we fear loss, we fear change. But what if you truly understood that you were never separate to begin with? What if you saw that your true nature is not this small, isolated self, but something much greater? The moment you see through the illusion of separation, fear begins to dissolve. Because what is there to fear if you are not separate from life? What is there to lose if you were never truly divided from the whole? Think about this. Where do you end and the rest of the universe begin? Is it your skin? The air you breathe? The thoughts in your mind? The truth is, there is no clear boundary. The idea that you are a separate self is just a habit of thought, reinforced by language and culture. But what if, for a moment, you could drop that illusion? What if you could experience yourself not as a separate being, but as part of the vast, interconnected flow of existence? Because when you do, something incredible happens. The weight of the world lifts. The fear of the future fades. The struggle to prove yourself, to become something, to be someone at all dissolves. And what remains is peace. A deep, unshakable peace that comes from knowing that you are not a stranger in this universe. You are not an outsider. You are not lost. You are home. You always have been. But here's the challenge: how do you actually live this truth? Because it's one thing to understand it intellectually, but it's another thing to embody it, to feel it in your bones. The first step is to observe the illusion. Start noticing the ways in which your mind reinforces the idea of separation. Notice how often you say I and mine. Notice how often you defend your identity, your beliefs, your sense of self. Just observe it. The second step is to shift your perspective. Instead of seeing yourself as a separate individual moving through the world, start seeing yourself as the world moving through you. Realize that every person you meet, every experience you have, every breath you take, is not happening to you, it is happening as you. The third step is to surrender. Let go of the need to define yourself, to cling to an identity. Let go of the belief that you are something separate from life. And in that letting go, you will discover something profound. You are not a wave struggling to survive. You are the ocean itself. And this realization changes everything. Because when you stop seeing yourself as separate, you stop feeling the need to prove anything. You stop feeling the need to chase happiness because you realize that you are happiness. You stop fearing death because you realize that death is not the end, it is just another change in form. And most importantly, you stop resisting life because you understand that there is nothing to resist. Life is not happening to you. It is happening as you. And once you see this, once you truly feel it, everything shifts instantly. The ultimate secret why you were never lost to begin with. We spend our lives searching for meaning, for purpose, for happiness, for love, for some kind of answer that will finally make everything make sense. But what if the very act of searching is what keeps us from finding? What if the thing we are looking for has been right in front of us all along, but we were too busy looking elsewhere to see it? Alan Watts understood this paradox better than most. He often spoke about the idea that we are like people running around frantically, searching for our glasses, not realizing they've been on our face the entire time. We look for happiness in achievements, in relationships, in external success, when in reality, happiness is not something to be found. It is something that is already here, already present, waiting for us to stop running and notice it. But we don't, because we believe we are incomplete. We believe that something is missing, that we need to become something more, attain something more, fix something before we can finally be at peace. But what if that is the greatest illusion of all? What if there is nothing missing? What if you were never lost? Think about this. Where does the idea that you are incomplete come from? Who told you that you are not enough as you are? From childhood, we are conditioned to believe that life is a process of becoming, that we are not yet who we are supposed to be, that we must improve, grow, achieve, in order to be worthy, in order to be happy. But this entire mindset is based on a fundamental misunderstanding. Because the truth is, you are already complete. You always have been. The only thing that makes you feel incomplete is the belief that you are. The mind is constantly telling a story. I need to be better. I need to become more. I need to fix myself. But who is the I that needs to be fixed? Who is the I that is not enough? If you look deeply, you will see that this I is just a thought, a mental construct, a collection of memories, beliefs, and conditioning. It is not who you truly are. And this is the secret. The moment you stop identifying with the mind's endless story, the moment you stop believing that you are something that needs to be improved, you wake up. You realize that you were never broken. You realize that peace, happiness, and freedom are not things you attain. They are things you uncover once you stop covering them up with the illusion of incompleteness. But here's where it gets really interesting. If you are already complete, if nothing is truly missing, then why does it feel like something is? Why do we experience suffering, longing, dissatisfaction? The answer is simple. We are lost in thought. We are so identified with the mind's constant narrative that we don't see reality as it is. We see it through a filter of concepts, judgments, and expectations. And this keeps us trapped in a cycle of seeking, always looking for fulfillment in the future, never realizing that fulfillment is only ever found in the now. And this is why presence is so powerful. Because presence is not something you achieve. It is what remains when you stop being lost in thought. Right now, as you listen to this, Your mind might be wandering, thinking about what comes next, analyzing these words, comparing them to what you already know. But pause for a moment. Take a breath. Feel your body. Notice the sounds around you. Be here. This moment, this direct experience of life, is the only reality. Everything else, all your worries, all your regrets, all your plans, exist only in your mind. And the moment you fully step into the now, you realize that everything you've been searching for has been here all along. But here's the paradox: once you realize this, once you see that you were never lost, the entire way you experience life changes. Because now, you are no longer waiting for something to complete you. You are no longer postponing your happiness. You are no longer chasing after something that was never separate from you to begin with. And in this, there is deep, unshakable peace. Not the kind of happiness that comes and goes with external circumstances, but the kind of peace that is always present, always available, beneath the noise of the mind. This is what Alan Watts was trying to show us. Not a philosophy, not a belief system, but a direct experience of reality that is available to you right now, in this very moment. But the question is, can you stop searching? Can you stop running? Can you let go of the need to become something more and simply be? Because the moment you do, the moment you fully embrace what is, you will see that there was never anything defined. You were never separate from life. You were never incomplete. You were never lost. You were just looking in the wrong place. And now that you see this, now that you truly understand it, the search is over. You are free.